Hey everyone, it's Miss Brooks with your Daily Dose of Math. Today we're going to be continuing Section 2 and Section 3 of Chapter 1, Solving Equations and Inequalities. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend what we've learned so far in Section 2 and Section 3 to solve word problems. So we're going to be given situations that we have to convert to equations and then solve those equations to answer the question. Now, one of the great things about word problems is that they require you to think and actually, apply your thinking to the problem. So do not just give up because there's a bunch of words. Read the questions, think about what's going on, and then solve the problem. So our first example says the sum of three consecutive integers is 132. What are the three integers? So whenever I have a word problem, I like to underline key information and then I circle what is it asking me to answer. So that way I make sure I answer the question and not something that just helped me solve it. So I'm going to underline the key information. So we have the sum of three consecutive integers is 132. To me, that's important. Now, as I underline, I'm thinking, do I know what this stuff means? Well, sum, that means addition. Three consecutive integers, that means they're coming in a row. And then it's 132. So I know what everything means so far. And then what I usually do is I will circle what is it asking. So what are the three integers? So my answer should be the three integers that make this statement work. So to solve this problem, what we need to do first is write an equation. So the sum of three consecutive integers. Since I don't know what the integers are, what I'm going to do is assign them variables. I'm going to say, all right, let's assume the first integer is x. The second integer then, if it's consecutive, would be that number x that I don't know, plus 1. And the third integer would be that first number x I don't know. And I'm going to add 2 more. So that way it's x plus 1 more, and then x plus 2 more. So I have my three consecutive integers. Now that I have the three expressions to represent what's going on, it asks me to find the sum. So for the sum, I'm going to add all of these together. And when I add all of them together, it is saying that the sum is 132. So essentially, that's my equation that I then need to solve. So I have my three consecutive integers, x plus 1, and x plus 2. And when I add them all up, it should be 132. So let's solve the problem. X plus x would be 3x. 1 plus 2 would be 3. And that's equal to 132. Subtract 3 on both sides. 3x would equal 129. And then divide the 3. So x is 43. Now, I'm not going to circle that. I'm going to look back at what I circled. It says, what are the three integers? Well, they only told me one of the numbers. So my three consecutive integers, starting with 43, after that would be 44, and after that would be 45. So my answers are 43, 44, and 45. And anytime you solve a word problem, you should ask yourself, does that make sense? So if you added all three of those numbers back together, is it 132? It is. So it does make sense for it to be those three numbers. I would now like you to try solving this problem. The sum of three consecutive odd integers is 57. What are the three integers? Please pause the video and attempt this on your own. When you have an answer, check it by resuming the video. So for this problem, like I said, I'm always going to underline what I think is important and circle what the final answer should be. So in this problem, what's important is that we're finding the sum and that is going to be 3 consecutive odd integers. And then that sum is 57. So as I underline again, I'm making sure I understand what those words mean. Sum means addition. 3 consecutive means 3 numbers that are coming in a row, but this time they're odd. So that's kind of important. That's like a double underline. They're odd integers. So like 5, 7, 9 or 7, 9, 11. So the key thing on this one is that they're not in a row 100%. They're in a row because they're odd. And then 57. Now, what I'm actually trying to find in this problem is what the 3 integers are. So that's what I'm going to circle because I want to make sure my final answer I'm giving the 3 integers. So when I go to solve this problem, what I'm going to do is I need to start with a number. I don't know what any of the 3 numbers are yet, so I'm going to call the first number x. The next consecutive odd integer. If I just add 1 to the number, I'm going to have an even integer. So my next consecutive odd integer would be x plus 2. And then my next consecutive odd integer would be 2 more after that. So x plus 4. And if you have trouble visualizing that, think about from 3, 5, and 7. 3 would be like the x. 5 is 2 more than 3, so that'd be x plus 2. And 7 is 4 more than 3, so it's like x plus 4. So that's where I'm getting these numbers from. I've got to make sure they're still giving me odd numbers. So you have to add 2 to keep it odd. So now that that's established, then what I want to do is finish solving the problem. So the sum of all of these, if I add all of these together, my 3 expressions for my 3 numbers, it says that should equal 57. So x plus x plus x is 3x. 2 and 4 would be 6. Solve this equation for x so we can see what is our first odd number. So we're dividing by 3. And 3 is going to go into 51 17 times. Now again, I'm not going to circle 17. That's not my answer. My answer are what are the 3 integers. So 17 is our first odd number. The next odd number would be 19 and then 21. So again, you want to make sure your answer makes sense. First off, are all of these odd? Yes. Second off, are they consecutive? Yes. Third, do they add to 57? Yes. So that means that our answer does make sense. Our next example requires a little bit more thinking to create the equation and solve the equation. So what I like to do first is read the entire problem when they're a little bit longer, and then I'll go back through and underline and circle. So 4 friends buy tickets for a concert. They use a coupon for $15 off each ticket. They pay a total of $312 for 4 tickets. Write and solve an equation to find the original price of the tickets. So now that I've read the problem, I'm going to go back through and underline the important information. So the first sentence, 4 friends buy tickets for a concert. 4 friends could possibly be underlined, but it tells me the amount of tickets bought later, so I'm going to skip anything in that sentence for right now. They use a coupon for $15 off each ticket. I'm going to underline that because that tells me how much the discount was and that it was for each ticket, not the total, but each ticket. It also tells me they pay a total of $312 and that it was 4 tickets that they bought. So right now, this is my key information. They have $15 off each ticket. The total was $312 and they bought 4 tickets. Now, I'm going to circle what this question is asking me to do. So this question wants me to write and solve an equation to find the original price of the tickets. So again, I always circle what my final answer should be, because if not, then sometimes I forget to fully solve the problem. So we need to make sure we write an equation and solve an equation to figure out the original price. So let's work on writing our equation. So what do we know? We know that we have 4 people that bought tickets. Okay, so I have 4 people that bought tickets. But I do not know how much each person paid for their ticket. So the original price, I'm going to use the variable x to represent the original price. So I'm going to say I have 4 tickets times x, because that'll tell me how much I paid. 4 tickets times x price would be you paid this much. However, we also had a coupon. So the coupon says we had $15 off each ticket. So I know I bought I know I bought 4 tickets. So 15 times 4 tells me that I have saved $60 on my 4 tickets. So I'm going to take 4 times x, what I paid, and I'm going to subtract my discount. I'm going to subtract $60. And that should equal 312. And then I like to kind of stop and reflect on my equation. I have 4x. So 4 times the original price minus 60. 60 is my discount, is equal to 312. That's my total amount. So that makes pretty good sense to me. What I have paid minus how much I got taken off would be my total. So what I want to do now is solve the equation for x, so I can figure out what was that original price of the tickets. So writing the equation, that part's done. Now we need to solve to find the original price. So I'm going to add 60 to both sides. So 4x equals 372. And then I'm going to divide 4. So 4 into 372. Well, 4 goes into 37 9 times. There would be 1 left over. 4 goes into 12 3 times. So x equals 93. Now when you have a word problem, it's best to put it in context. So this was 93 what? Well, it was $93 since this was representing a price. I'm going to say my answer here is $93. It is time for your second U-Try. Please pause the video and attempt the following problem yourself. When you have an answer, resume the video to check it. So for this problem, the first thing I would do would read it to myself. The same 4 friends buy tickets for 2 shows on consecutive nights. They use a coupon for $5 off each ticket. They pay a total of $416 for 8 tickets. Write and solve an equation to find the original price of the tickets. So once I've read through once, then I'll go through and underline the key information and circle what the question is wanting. So in the first sentence, there's not too much that seems important to me. The second sentence, I have a coupon for $5 off each ticket. The third sentence, it was a total of $416 and 8 tickets were bought. So that's what I think is pretty important in this problem. And then what is it asking me to do? It wants me to write and solve an equation to find the original price of the tickets. So I need to write and solve to find the original price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the variable x to represent my original price. And I want to set up my equation. So I'm going to start with how many tickets I bought. I bought 8 tickets. So 8. And for those 8 tickets, I would have paid the original price before the discount. So I'm going to say 8x. 8 tickets I bought times x, the original price, would give my total before the discount. Then I'm going to subtract my discount. So I had $5 off each ticket. So if I bought 8 tickets and $5 off each one, that means I saved $40. So right now, 8x minus 40, and that should equal my total, which was $416. So once I write my equation, again, I'm going to reflect on it and go, does that make sense? So I bought 8 tickets at the original price X. I took away my discount, which would have been $40 overall, and that means we would have paid $416. So it does make sense with what the words have. So I can check off, I've written my equation. Now I need to solve to find the original price of these tickets. So I'm going to add 40 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide by 8. So 8 goes into 45 5 times. There'd be 5 left over. 8 goes into 56 7 times. So X is 57. Again, I want to put this in context. 57 what? $57, since this is talking about the price of the tickets. Our third example is going to be slightly different because it will require us to write an equation with a variable on both sides. So let's take a look about what's going on here with Cameron. So Cameron pays 95 cents per song with his current music service. A new music download service charges 89 cents per song with a $12 joining fee. Write and solve an equation to find when the cost of these two options will be the same. So once I read it to myself, then I like to underline the key information. So in the first sentence, the key information is that Cameron is currently paying 95 cents per song. So every song that he purchases, he's got to pay 95 cents. The second sentence, the key information is that there's a different service that's only going to charge him 89 cents per song, but they're also going to charge him a $12 joining fee. So I want to make sure I understand this. 89 cents per song. Each song that he buys, got to pay 89 cents. But the $12 joining fee, that's not something he's going to have to constantly pay. So I'm going to make a note here. That's only a one-time fee. So once I underline the key information to make sure I understand it, then I circle what the question is asking. So this question is asking me to write and to solve an equation to figure out when these costs would be the same. So again, I'm making sure I understand that. Write and solve, that makes sense. The cost to be the same. In other words, if something's the same, then they are equal to each other. So I need to figure out when are these two services equaling each other. So we're going to write an expression. On the left-hand side of my equation, we're going to write an expression to represent what Cameron is currently paying. So currently, Cameron pays 95 cents per song. So I need some variable to represent song. I'm going to use X. So currently Cameron pays 95 cents times X because X is the amount of songs that he would be purchasing. And that's going to equal the second service because we want to see when these costs are the same. So for the second service, Cameron would be able to pay 89 cents a song. So 89 cents times each song X. But then he also has to add in the $12 one-time joining fee. So now that we've written our equation representing the two services and have set them equal to each other, we want to solve this equation because the writing's done. We want to solve it to see when are these costs the same. How many songs is going to make this be the same price? So, get the variables on the same side. Let's subtract 89 cents. So, on the right, I'm going to have 12. Over here, I'm going to have 0.06x. And then I need to divide by 0.06. On both sides. Now the trick when you divide by decimals, we need to move the decimal in twice And if the top one doesn't have a decimal, we add that many zeros. So I moved it twice. I'm going to add 2 zeros. So this is essentially saying how many times is 6 going to 1200? Well, 6 goes into 12 twice. And then you would have the 2 zeros as placeholders. So for this one, x is 200. But I want to put it in context. So what is the 200 representing? 200 what is making the cost the same? Well, x was representing the psalms. So 200 psalms is making the cost of these two services be the same. And your last U try. Please pause the video and attempt this problem yourself. When you have found an answer, resume the video to check it. Cameron still pays 95 cents per song. His friend tells him of another service that has a $15 joining fee but charges 80 cents per song. Write and solve an equation to find when the cost of these two options will be the same. So once I've read the entire word problem, I will go back through and underline the key information. So in the first sentence, Cameron's paying 95 cents per song. In the second sentence, a new service has a $15 joining fee, which I remember means he's only paying that one time, and an 80 cents per song fee. So that's my key information, and this problem is asking me to write and solve an equation to find when the cost is the same. And I remember that if it's the same, that means that they are equaling each other. So now that I know what I'm doing, I want to write an expression for each music service and set them equal to each other and solve. So Cameron paying 95 cents per song. I'm going to use x again to represent my song. So 0.95x, 95 cents times each song. And that's going to equal my second service. So my second service, he has a $15 joining fee. So that's going to be a one-time fee plus 80 cents per song. So plus 80 or point, there we go, 0.80x. So 15 plus 0.80x. So now that we have written the equation, we want to solve the equation. So I'm going to get the x's on the same side by subtracting 0.80. So for this one, I'm going to be left with 15 cents x equal to 15. And then I want to divide by the 0.15. So remember the trick when you're dividing by a decimal, move your decimal in twice. If the numerator is a whole number, then we add that many zeros. So 15 into 1500, 15 goes into 15 once, and then there's 2 zeros left. So for this one, x is 100. And again, I want to put it in context. What was x representing? X was representing the psalms. So after 100 psalms, these two options would be equal, or at 100 psalms, I should say. These two options would be equal to each other. This concludes our lesson on section 2 and 3, the extension on being able to apply those skills to word problems. If you have any questions, please ask Ms. Brooks. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on your Daily Dose of Math with Ms. Brooks.